So behave.
So behave, exactly. Okay, promptly at 7 o'clock. Good evening and Happy New Year to everybody.
Okay, you want to have us introduce ourselves?
I was going to do that, Fred, but if you want to start, you're very welcome
Start from one
to.
end.
Okay, I'm Russell Day, one of the commissioners on the board here.
Go ahead, Bree.
I'm Bree Olson. I'm seeing if I may want to become a member.
Oh, you're too late.
I'm Fred Plett, a member, former chair of the Solid Waste Commission.
Future chair.
Kathy Samard.
I'm John Burt, member of the Solid Waste Committee.
Dave Packard, current chairman of the committee.
David Pierce, Selectman's representative to the committee.
Carl Quirm, DPW.
Great, thank you very much. First thing on the agenda is a review of the November 16th minutes.
Motion
Fred,
to approve.
do we have a second?
Second.
Yep.
Okay, we got 2 seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, bring it to a vote. All those in favor of accepting the minutes from the November 16th, 2011 meeting, say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed.
Mr. Chairman, before you get too far, can I just add one duty, and I just want to throw it in now for a question.
Please.
I have been asked to make sure we get a picture for the town report to go along with the annual report of the committee. So is everybody going to be here till the end?
Yes.
We'll just do it at the end then.
Do you have a camera?
Yes.
Nobody's got a really good memory. Thank you, Carl, I appreciate that.
Well, hopefully our smiles will continue through the night.
Yeah.
To the end.
I'll make this brief then, how's that?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Sec-
second it.
Well, here we go. The second thing on the agenda is election of a new chairman. As I mentioned previously, Fred's diving for some reason. I've done this for at least a couple of years now, and I'm not going to be able to continue doing this. It's a little bit more. In fact, I've now changed jobs. I'm still internal with Public Service Company, but I've gone to a different business unit. So I'm on a very steep learning curve, and this is just one of the responsibilities that I can't keep up with. So, do we have any volunteers?
I nominate Kathy Samard.
Well, I was going to ask for volunteers first, Fred. I thought you were raising your hand to volunteer, Fred.
Kathy's volunteering, and I'll second that.
Now, I have to ask Kathy, would you be willing to take over the
Well,
chairmanship?
what do I have to do?
You run the meetings
Yeah,
and keep the notes
yeah.
and then distribute the notes. That's pretty much it.
Making sure town hall posts it in advance.
Well, that just goes with the distribution of by the email. So as you folks see, when I send out the invitation and establish the date, it goes to the town hall at the same time as part of that. So, not a lot of work, just a lot of responsibility. How's that?
What's the responsibility?
That was it, as I discussed.
If you can run a meeting, you're in right place.
Drafting the
Yeah,
annual
okay.
report.
Huh? Draft the annual report,
Well-
see David's horrible, then you can do better than that.
Well, that's just it. It
You
always
did
comes,
very nice.
it always comes down to discussion anyway, no matter how good a job you think you did drafting it.
And she will get a triple in her pay, correct?
She'll get the wheelie chair.
All right, then, all right.
So Kathy is one nominee. Do I hear anybody else? Russ, you don't want to jump up and volunteer for it?
No, thank you.
Even if I meant Fred
John?
wouldn't get it?
Fred?
I've done it before, I know I do a good job, and I am absolutely swamped, both with work, but I'm stretched 6 weeks from Sunday and all the civic stuff I'm doing now. And I'm a good contributor, but I can't take on the chairmanship again for a while.
Okay.
Okay,
But I'm here to help you.
we all are.
Okay.
Hearing no
Looks
other
like it.
nominations, all those in favor of Kathy for new chairman, signify by saying aye. Opposed? None. Thank you very much, Kathy.
Oh, you're welcome.
I will
When do I
coordinate
start?
with you on taking over. How's that?
Oh, great.
Not tonight.
Thank you. Yes, no, not tonight. Thank you, everyone. So excited.
And that's why I'm cleaning up all the old business that I possibly can here this evening, too. Bree Olson is here this evening as a guest, and she's investigating what you would like to volunteer for amongst the various and sundry volunteer organizations in the town.
Yeah, well, I kind of just asked if I could go where I'm needed. So they had mentioned this to start here because you guys were in need of members. I'm really just looking to help out my community. I'm new to the community. I've only been here for a year and a half. And I used to do a lot of volunteer work back in Nashville where I used to live. So just trying to see where I can fit in and do the things that I'm used to doing.
Well, I saw your application had check marks about just about everything in the community.
Pretty much. Very much whatever's needed, you know?
Motion to recommend Bree Olson to the selectmen?
Well, it takes a little different form now.
Yeah,
Dave,
now
you
it's
want to
different.
tell us what the process is now?
Actually, her application just goes to the selectmen. We no longer specifically ask for an endorsement from the committee, though we certainly would not refuse looking at an endorsement.
I'll keep the motion on the floor, can't hurt.
Well, Dave, my understanding from what I saw that came from, I don't know if it was Kathy Ball or not. Was it the sent? There was a memo as to exactly how the selectmen do it now. Essentially, I guess they take in an application for volunteers, and do they just simply pass and say that this
Yes.
person is now vetted to serve on whatever capacity they would like?
The selectmen go on what information we have learned from, maybe some of us may have talked to the individual or know of them, and we may or may not have a recommendation from the actual committee, but a recommendation's not required,
Right.
Does it hurt?
doesn't hurt.
Okay.
And then we vote accordingly.
Okay.
95% of that is the fact that some committees felt that their endorsement needed to be, mandatorily accepted by the selectmen. And
My
it didn't
motion-
always work out that way.
My motion isn't made with that intent.
Okay. So,
Okay,
it's your call.
great.
We would be glad to receive endorsements, because that enhances the recommendation, of the applicant.
Well, I'm very pleased to do that. Fred has a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah.
Fred,
Do you ride a bicycle?
I can.
Careful. Caution.
I chair the Rail Trail Committee.
My husband's a better rider than me.
All
He
right.
actually enjoys
You
riding.
you whisper in his ears this evening.
I was going to ask you, Bree, whereabouts in town do you live?
I live on Pine Hill Ave,
Where is that?
right in
Bernardville.
Bernardville.
Oh, well, no wonder I don't know
It's
where
a
that is.
beautiful street. Pavement speaking.
Not as beautiful.
I'm sorry.
as Tibbettsville Road.
We're right next to.
Well, is there any discussion? We have a motion on the floor.
I think it's a great idea.
Hearing none, we'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor of having Bree serve on the commission, is it a one-year term? Is
Yes.
it? Very good, 1 year. You sold on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I'll just abstain, because I'll be voting later.
Very good, thank you.
So that was really tough.
Yeah.
And that's how you get on, huh?
Yeah.
Yep, you can
run
never
away
get off.
there. Yeah.
So, Bree, the town administrator will bring your application forward to the selectmen either next month, probably next Monday, if they're informed tomorrow of your committee's endorsement. And,
We're televised.
Yes.
We have the selectmen's representative here. I would think that would pretty much cover it.
Thank you for your faith in me.
Bree short for Brianne.
No,
It's green.
it's just free, yeah.
Well, welcome to Goffstown.
Thanks. So far, so good. I really like this community.
We'll disabuse you of that. I'm just kidding.
Just so you know, we have probably the best snow plowing and sanding and salting of any of the area towns around here. Would you not concur, sir?
I would definitely
My
concur.
street gets done every time it snows. That's enough.
And we will have the best road. in Mansfield.
Well,
We will.
you know exactly where the town line with Manchester is.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes.
It's pretty, it's like 50 feet from a house. It's pretty close.
Hey, somebody's looking at those signs we put up last year.
Yeah,
Bernardville only had one sign out of 8 streets where our boundary line with Manchester, only one of 8 streets had a sign up saying, "You're now entering Goffstown."
Oh, yeah, a lot of people don't know it
And
exists. It's
last,
weird.
early in the summer, signs went up on all the streets.
That's important, because it's the zip code problem, and, you know, well, not the zip
We're
code, but the,
greatly deviating from solid waste.
Yeah.
That's all right. I will defer to a selectmen's representative sitting here who is welcoming a new member to the community.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to the draft of the town report, the second page in the package this evening. I offered it to you as you walked in,
Yeah.
Fred,
And I put one right in front of you, Fred.
and I apologize it's not in color, Fred.
I think it's despite my disparaging remarks in just a few moments ago, I think it's a great job.
The only things that I would like to see included in here, and Carl, I don't know if you saw the email or not, I'd like to include in there what our tons of solid waste were that we got rid of and what the total tons of recycles are.
You can add that.
And if you could forward that to me, I can work it into here.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Chair of the evening, the second sentence needs to be totally eliminated or rewritten. That link is no longer effective.
Ah, well, that's a good thing to know.
I just tried it. And if you were to go onto the town's website, and then you link up to Public Works, and on the left side of that page is a link to solid waste. You open up that page, and then you see another link for educational material. It has 5 or 6 articles there, but
But this doesn't exist
not
anymore?
recycling matters.
But I asked the selectmen to spend the $10 to reestablish GoffstownRecycles.org for 3 years, so that they could get to it directly with all that linking.
And Fred, why can't, if that article is still valid, why can't it be part of the educational material on the town's website about solid waste?
It's finding it. You have to go down several layers to get
If you
to it.
would, if everybody would Google it
Uh,
10 times a day, it would pop up to the top of the list.
I could do that.
I don't mind asking. I think it was more than $10. I think there was and I don't.
Who do you go through? Who's your,
I believe that this was established, when Wayne was on the committee and he established it.
yeah,
And then when we moved everything off it, I'm just not, and I'm speaking totally third-hand because I wasn't involved in it. But I seem to remember there being an issue that we didn't own that URL.
He was willing to give it to us.
Was he?
Yeah. And so, I mean, we, you know, till it expired, of course, then we'd pick it up.
Yeah.
But Wayne, to his big credit, was very helpful that way and was more than willing to work with the town on that.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of renewing it.
Well, I can pursue whether there's an issue with it easily tomorrow.
Okay, Carl, so you'll pick up on that and you can drop me an email and I can distribute
Yeah.
it as to what the situation
Do we
is on
still
that.
have a digital copy of the article? I don't know.
digital copy of what article?
Yeah, I think all the content was just moved over to the town's recycling page, I believe.
And I would
It's there,
expect
I've read
that
it, I just
Goffstown
don't remember where it is.
Recycles.org would just automatically relink
Well,
to the town's
under,
website.
there's 8 articles under educational information, and that's not one of the 8.
Okay, well, again, I'd have to look into it, but I remember there was an effort to just move the information, the content over, and just didn't think the URL went with it.
I don't mind where it is, it's just finding it, so if it had a goffstownrecycles.org that links directly to that page, that's great.
Okay, but Dave's point is well taken. If it doesn't exist at this point in time, I'll just simply take that out. So that's one edit. John?
Well, I just wanted to add to Carl, I'm trying to think of the number. I think I have 8 or 10 .coms. And also a couple others. But I used to pay $35 a year for them each. GoDaddy, and I don't know if
That's what I was just gonna say.
is just eliminated almost all that cost. I mean, it's really, it's cheap, yeah. So
It's like
they
$12.
currently host everything that I have, and it brought my cost down probably 90%. And then also they do web hosting, which is, again, extremely cheap. I was paying about $500 a year to host all my websites. And I think it's down to less than, $70, $75 for all of them right now. So I mean, it's a huge savings.
GoDaddy.com?
Yeah,
GoDaddy.com. They're the least expensive around right now.
Yeah, and very good company. Anytime I called them, they're out in Arizona. I can't say enough good about them. They'd sit there for an hour and walk right through the whole process. Somebody spends an hour with me.
Your IT expert will know how to do that.
Okay, are there any other edits, suggestions for the town report? Carl, third paragraph down, I don't know, is that $70 a ton still a valid number?
It's changed, actually. The disposal cost of the MSW has not changed, but the recycling cost, we're now, trying to think if we're paying again. We're no longer receiving revenue, I know that.
Oh, really?
It
Recycling's
dropped
gone
off
down?
again?
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, it's on the list, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you know, if you could just, you're gonna give me the
Yeah.
tonnages anyway, give me what
Yeah.
that differential is as well?
Yeah.
And in that third paragraph, on the first line, to otherwise dispose of recycles material,
Yep,
recycles probably ought to be recyclable.
and I would be happy to do that for you, Russell.
Thank you so much.
And Dave, do you know, is this town still waiting to hear from Attorney Stekowitz concerning the update to the ordinance? Or was there something else pending on that?
I'm not aware of any action along that line, so
Yeah, I don't-
you've caught me cold on that one.
'Cause I think that's where we were the last time we had talked about it. So that's why I had put it into this format here. I guess this is,
Is that something
it's
your
a-
department forwarded?
This goes way back. We were waiting, at the time, the Solid Waste Commission was told that this was gonna be on town meeting. The article was gonna be on town meeting, right?
yeah.
And we were kinda in a holding pattern for that. I don't know what the status is on where we're at, so I
Well,
have to
I
check
think
myself.
the paragraph itself is correct.
Yeah.
It's not up to date because we don't know what the current status is, but I think this is still correct for that. So are you volunteering to take a look at that and see what
Yeah.
the status is on that,
Yes,
Carl?
I will.
And for Breeze, education here. That's an ordinance on the whole concept of solid waste.
No, it was simply, it was an update to the existing ordinance to incorporate, there was, I believe there was a change in state law, and we were going to basically put some more teeth into the ordinance.
The existing town ordinance.
To the existing town ordinance to bring it up to date.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything? I would accept a motion to move along. Fred?
Move to endorse the annual report with the changes as discussed.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Sure.
Thank you for your enthusiastic support. Any further discussion?
Been a long day for Russ and I.
It's not over yet.
On our votes.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. And we briefly touched on the current recycles revenue and trash disposal cost. Carl, do you have even?
Yeah, I
Something
didn't
further?
prepare the, I didn't prepare the graph, but I'll tell you that the picture has not changed, you know, tonnage-wise, it's tracking right where it has for years and years and years. The only real change is we did receive a letter, and it probably goes back a month now, it was just before the end of December, that Casella was no longer able to pay us for the recyclables because the market had dropped out of them. And, you know, strangely enough, and I should forward this to Fred just so his head will explode, Casella did forward me, they were telling me how, you know, I was talking to them about how do you track this and what's involved in tracking. They always refer to the yellow sheet. And for years I've heard about the yellow sheet, the yellow sheet, the yellow sheet. And so I finally said, you know, what's involved in this yellow sheet? So the guy I work with from Casella forwarded me this massive spreadsheet. And he said, I'm interested to see if you have a different crystal ball than us looking at this. And they track commodities from all around the world. There were so many commodities, I couldn't believe.
But was the
what
spreadsheet yellow?
No, they didn't, you know, you would think they would have at least colored it yellow, but they didn't. But it really is amazing, and I'm sure that every traded commodity on the market is like this, but it was amazing to me. How many factors go into figuring out what single-stream recycling is worth?
Is this
market value.
a sheet that is purchasable somewhere? Was it
Well,
published?
it's published in a couple of journals.
Oh,
And, you know, so guys like people that work for Casella that are entering into contracts where, okay, we gotta gamble our money here on what's gonna happen in the next 3 years. This is what they've got to look at to try to figure it out. And you look at the recycling market, and this thing tracks back years and years and years, and you look at the recycling market, and it's historic. I mean, it's up and down, and it always has been.
it recycles.
So that, Bree, one thing you have to know, he is the king of pun.
Yeah,
King.
well,
Just hit him.
you'll also learn not to sit in that chair.
But anyway, so
So we were getting revenues for a
we're
period of time
getting
recently.
revenues for a period of time, to the point it got up to 25 or 30 bucks a ton.
Well, that was my
Working out
recollection
very
as
good
well.
for us. Yeah. We got a lot of revenue this year. It's currently in a, I don't think it's negative, I don't think we're paying yet, but it's certainly flat. And, you know, I kept pushing them for because we were in the phase in our budgeting where I still had a chance to go back to the selectmen and the budget committee and say, oh, we got a mistake here, we got a problem. So I was trying to get them to share with me their crystal ball. So he didn't share with me his crystal ball, he just sent it to me, saying, you look into it yourself, and you tell me. So at the end of the day, we just got our fingers crossed that we won't have to pay, and we kind of kept everything status quo, but everybody should be aware that it's an up and down thing.
Well, even
What's
at that,
the
it's
major
still
reason?
cheaper than the
It's
waste
still cheap, it's
disposal.
always been cheaper than the waste
China's
disposal.
slowing down, a lot of it is going to China, but they're slowing down, Europe is slowing down, the US so far is doing fine, but
We
with
do
the
buy
rest of the
back
world.
a lot of the garbage that we send over there.
Yeah, I mean, but it's truly recycled. But there's a market for the recyclable goods, and the market's softer because of the world economy essentially slowing down. In the US so far, it's fine, better, but with the rest of the world slowing down, we may have the impact too.
Yeah. Now, just curious, Carl, you've been to the plant that separates, correct? How many end products, or whatever you want to call it, items, come out of that plant at the end of the door?
Oh, boy, dozens and dozens. I mean, I didn't count them, but
Really?
they sort that, well, as a matter of fact, there's a picture of the plant right there.
Ah, so do they separate like 1 and 2 plastics?
Oh, yeah. They separate 1 through 7 plastics.
They have all sorts of products.
And you know, when you get to, you know, the easy stuff is the plastic and the glass, and you should see the sort they do in fiber and paper, you know, the office paper versus magazines versus, you know, because what happens in this plant, it's a huge facility. And the stuff is pushed up a conveyor belt.
Massachusetts.
And the first thing that happens is that it's sorted into fiber versus, you know, so what we used to separate in our blue bucket, the paper versus everything else, that automatically happens first. And then they basically have 2 complete separate things sorted in the stream.
Can we go on a
There's
trip?
Shrewsbury, Mass, right?
No, it's Charlestown.
Charlestown.
When you, just before you get to the Zachem Bridge,
Yeah,
when you're still on the elevated thruway,
see it every morning.
you go by Bunker Hill Community College on the left.
Yeah.
Right after that, literally, you know, the roof of the building's almost touching the highway. There's just a couple of enormous warehouse-looking
I
buildings.
know where they are, I see them every morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Capital Waste, you see the trucks lined up, the Capital Waste trucks lined up, getting in there, and that's it.
So just to better understand it, so like the plastic 1 compared to plastic 5 on the yellow sheet would be worth more money or less money?
Yeah, each
That's how
one's
they do it?
different. Each one's different, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'll just throw it out, I know the folks at Casella, they do tours all the time.
Yeah,
So if you
let's go.
seriously would want to go down and see it,
Yeah.
it is an absolutely amazing facility.
Yeah.
Even though we're going to Concord Co-op real quick,
Well, Concord Co-op is gonna be
Casella.
just like this, it's even gonna be managed by Casella when it opens, so it would give you a sense of what we're waiting for. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what the co-op is
I'd
gonna
love to
do.
go.
Well,
Me too.
Fred, thank you for the segue into the next item, which is the co-op status.
You know, I should have thought ahead that I should have talked to Jim. As far as I know, they've already broken ground, they had all their approvals, they got all the votes they needed to move it forward. I haven't gone up there to actually see a shovel in the ground, but there's no reason to believe it's not in the ground, because the final hurdles they had to clear
And which
have
town is that
been
in?
cleared. It's in Pennacook.
Pinnacle.
It's right off, it's the next day, after you leave the city of Concord going north, that very next exit, you get off, I think it's Allentown exit. You get off, and you get off the highway, there's like an industrial park right there, that's where it is, it's right off the highway.
Pennacook's part of Concord.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
You mean heading north
Kinda
towards
like
Hilton?
Norville.
yeah,
The bridge is above you, I think?
yeah.
It's pretty, last summer, the town entered into a 15-year,
I had
Yes.
those, so,
a
yeah.
15-year contract to bring our recyclables to a facility that is right now under construction. And we're a consortium of 30-something communities bringing our recyclables to a facility. And we're very happy this is occurring because we no longer have to truck our recyclables to Charleston. Concord is much closer. So it's a saving on our wear and tear of trucks, our long-haul trucks, the labor to do that, diesel fuel.
And because it's a nonprofit, there might be bigger revenues coming out of it someday than we otherwise might have got.
Right.
And they're
Although I
trying-
gotta tell you, Casella's been very nice to us.
Yes, but Concord Co-op has had a great track record with their trash.
Yeah.
And that's what gave us the confidence they do a good job with the recyclables as well.
Carl,
Yes.
do you know what the date is? I heard May, I think, end of last year.
I'd wanna get an update. It was supposed to be a year from when they started construction, and they theoretically started construction a couple of months ago, so
So it may be,
next meeting, I'll get a good update.
Okay.
Have a better idea for you.
I would think that Jim Pressure would be sending out all kinds of news bulletins and updates and everything else to the communities that signed up.
You would think.
Well, if you talk to him, ask him if he can send out updates like that. I would think that other communities are going to be in the same boat we are, would be very interested in seeing what's going on. Next item. Fred, you're up. The pay-as-you-throw fee program.
What, we're on TV for the first time, and I don't want my head removed. And so let me preface this by saying that a few months ago, the selectmen urged us to look at pay-as-you-throw again. It's been brought up a couple of times and has been shot down rather vociferously and vigorously by many members of the community. And we are looking at it again at the behest of the selectmen. Like any other volume commodity, electricity, gasoline, is a logic to having trash and recyclables billed on a per pickup per ton basis. There's a potential for savings for homeowners by taking it out of the tax rate and making them directly responsible. There's an incentive to increase recycle percentages. Recycle to go up, trash to go down, which is good for the community and good for homeowners and good for the world. And it could allow expansion of service to multifamily and businesses. But it's far from a proposal that is cast in stone. It's something we're just looking at. And your minutes of the last meeting, I saw that I was charged with coming up with a presentation to go to community leaders with, Rotary and that other organization, Rotary and Lions. I happen to be a Lion, that's why I put it that way, and others, thought leaders, to see whether it passes a laugh test before we go forward back to the selectmen or anybody else. Just to see if we've done our homework well enough to sell it. Because it does engender a lot of emotion, we realize that. So we're just in a discussion phase, draft phase, and this could go nowhere. It could be modified quite a bit before we ever get to any point where we present it publicly beyond this meeting. I just want to preface it by saying all of that.
Well, and Fred, I'll add to that. The only commitment that we made coming out of the last meeting was to refine the numbers from Carl's spreadsheet and to be able to provide some feedback to the selectmen as to whether or not it was viable or not. It was go or no go.
Yes.
To move forward from this.
Yes.
The results of the last meeting were that it appears viable. It's either break even or slightly plus or slightly minus, but it's not oh my God, it's a terrible expense to the homeowners. It could be a benefit to the homeowners.
Oh, and most people, my studies show that most people, by saving, cutting down the size of the trash barrel after paying for the barrel, could save money, no matter what the size of the value of the home. And I'll go through that with my numbers. What I did was review Carl's spreadsheet, and though I have some questions about some percentages that Carl assumed, I have no better basis than Carl does until we actually have a program in place and get real data. I guess Carl's done his best to look for other communities for data, but some of it, there is no data. And so we tried to construct as best we could what it might look like. And I went through Carl's spreadsheet, and he had put the savings, the reduction in tax rate for a $250,000 home and a $350,000 home. And he had also put a cost per week of a subscription program that a homeowner would pay just to have the barrel out there, whether or not they put it up, for trash and for recyclables. And he had 3 different sizes of trash and 3 different sizes of recyclables, which means a 9-position matrix of the possible costs, right? And so, it was $2 for instance, as I recall the spreadsheet, $2 for a 65-gallon trash, and 30 cents for a 65-gallon recyclable.
If you go in that package.
Okay, help me.
It's in the package, your
Page
spreadsheet.
2.
The spreadsheet's in there?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so, yeah, but I had to combine the two 'Cause so he took $2 for 35 and 35, $2.30 for the trash and 30 cents for the recyclable. Well, I said for the two of them together, that's $2.30, the higher mathematics. That's for the 35 and 35 gallon. And then the combination of a 35 gallon recycle and a 35 gallon recycle and a $65 trash would be $4.01. And a 35 gallon recycle and a 65 gallon trash, 95 gallon trash would be $5.73, et cetera. Now, is it likely for people to keep a 95 gallon trash and a 35 gallon recycle? No, but I covered all the bases, all possible combinations of costs. It's more likely, most people, 99% of people now have a 65 gallon trash and a 65 gallon recycle, because that's how the town set up the program. And it would be more likely, a lot of us hardly fill the trash. And if we ever pass this, the first thing I'll ask for is a 35 gallon trash, because even then it won't be full. And so,
You mean on a weekly basis?
on a weekly basis, so I've cut the size of the barrel from a 65 to a 35 for trash, and I'd probably keep the recyclable at 65 if not going up, because it's full every week. And so the combination of a 65 gallon recycle and a 65 gallon trash would be $4.27 a week. I would immediately switch to a 35 gallon trash rather, which would bring it down to $2.56 a week. So that's a flat subscription cost. We also did it on a per pickup cost, which is more complicated because it means reading an RFID tag, having the billing program in place to see how many times it was picked up. It is somewhat more complicated to implement. The cost per week goes up, but obviously, if you don't have it out, you don't pay it. So it's a higher cost per week, but if you're only putting it out 30 weeks instead of 52 weeks, there's a possibility for savings there. So we looked at it both ways, and then I also looked at, multiply times 52, and times a percentage that gets picked up, and wound up with an annual cost to a homeowner for all those combinations. And an annual cost to a homeowner would be $222.11 on a flat subscription basis for 65 and 65. But if the homeowner cut the 65 gallon trash down to a 35 gallon trash, it would be $132.97. Et cetera. But all 9 segments are filled in. So if someone had a humongous family, lots of trash, lots of recyclables, and chose to go to a 95 gallon trash, 95 gallon recyclable, would cost $324.63, which is somewhat higher, but it also, some of those people are probably bringing the trash and recyclables to the transfer station by hand now, in cars and trucks, and it's a convenience factor. They'd be paying a little more than the average person, but they'd also wouldn't have to truck it to the recyclable, the transfer station themselves, so it may be worth the convenience factor. It gives them options. But subtracting the savings of reduction in taxes, and those numbers may not be in the spreadsheet, but Carl calculated them. The net impact, oh, yes, I think I listed, okay, the net impact for a $250,000 home, the reduction in taxes is $209.54. So I calculated the net, whether it would cost a homeowner more or less. And for a $250,000 home, staying at the 65 and 65 would cost $12.57 more. But as soon as somebody cut the size of the trash to 35 gallons instead of 65 gallons, a homeowner could save $76.57. So there's an opportunity to save money here. And again, it's intending to encourage homeowners to do that, to save on trash and to increase the recycles, because the recycle's cheaper. And I did it for a $350,000 home, and there'd be a $293.36 tax reduction on that case. And so at $350,000 home, even in staying at 65, there's a savings of $71.25. But by cutting the size of the trash to 35, there's $160.39 savings. So went through all of those options, including the per pickup subscription cost. And so that's what I added to Carl's spreadsheet. In interest of open meeting laws, and I sent this out by email, including at the minutes I was charged with coming up with a presentation we could present to thought leaders, and I did that with a theme of you can save money out of this and there's some other benefits. And got some email correspondence back, and I want to state it publicly so that we're not in trouble with any right-to-know laws. I got some feedback from Selectman David Pierce about, I'm not really clear about the 9 matrix, and so could you explain it a little better? And I've added some bullets as a result of that, showing what the cost is at 65 and 65, and if you cut back what you could save, so it makes it clearer what the matrix is doing.
My comment to Fred was the 3x3 matrix was just a chart of numbers with no narrative to tell the reader how to go into the chart.
And so I added a little to it for explanation
Because
purposes.
these, the piece of paper has to be somewhat self-explanatory if, one is bringing it home from a meeting
Yes.
and explaining it to their spouse and their.
Yes, and so I did add a little to it. Again, this is for Rotary, for Lions, and other service organizations, so it assumes that sophistication level in the presentation, but we did add a little explanation so people could walk through it. I also got feedback from Russ Day that we ought to be selling based on what it could save homeowners money, and that was the whole intent of this matrix. But I also got feedback, it may be a little complicated going out to the general public, and we'll have to work on that. But for the audience, it was intended, I think it may be okay. We'll get some feedback. I've some feedback from John Burke that, well, how about for $175,000 or $250,000 home? 175 and $200,000 home, and forgive me, John, my first reaction is he must think I have all the time in the world. But I did manage to scrape that out today while I was in a planning advisory committee in Westboro of Meeple.
Well, thank you.
Along with several other things. And I have those numbers here, which I'll pass around.
And the reason I requested that was, there's a lot of $175,000, $200,000 homes in this
I
town.
thought I had enough, I'm missing a couple.
John and I will look on here.
If you are a $175,000 home, there's $146.68 tax reduction, and there's cost, of course. So the net, if you kept it to 65 and 65, it should cost you $75.43 more a year. But if you immediately cut to the 35-gallon trash, even the $175,000 home will save money. Not huge, $14, $13.71. And then as you go up in value, I did the $200,000 home, and again, it costs $54.48 more a year if you stay the way you are, but if you cut the size of the trash, you can save money, $34.66.
There's probably also a correlation if one were to have a $125,000 home, they may not, it's rather a small home compared to others, and it may not have as many bedrooms and people living in that home.
So
And
you could easily
therefore
cut-
they would have less need for large containers.
Could easily cut to a 35 and 35 maybe, or at least a 35 for trash, if not, and I'd love to encourage 95 for recycle if you could use it, so, and 35 for the trash. I also communicated today with Scott Bartlett, our assessor, and got from him, which I'll also pass out, a histogram, a breakdown of properties by value to show a frequency, to see whether the 250 and 350 Carl used was reasonable or not.
Scott's an expert on anything with doing in the statistics world and
Yeah.
histograms and.
Well, I knew.
That's
enough
his
I knew
profession.
the term, which is,
Yeah.
congratulate myself for that. And Carl may have been right a few years ago with the $250,000, $350,000. He no longer is with the plunge in value we've all occurred since 2008. And the bulk of homes, they start at 175,000. Huh?
Yeah.
And the peak is 200,000, and then it goes down, but still quite a few, 225, 250, 275, 300. I happened to look up your home, John Burt, and it's 175,000.
It is.
And I happened to look up my home, and it's 250,000. And so I suggest I adjust my spreadsheet I'm going to suggest 175, well, 175 is where the first large bar is, so maybe 175, 2 1/4, and 275.
That's exactly where I just drew my lines, was those cutoffs. I think if you do that, Fred, you get about half of the homes in
Yes.
Goffstown.
Fred,
So-
yes, Fred, I believe I heard you say 175, then 225, and 275, because if you're in between,
You can,
it's easy in your head to say, what's halfway between these two numbers?
Yeah.
And then you're taking, that's 8, 16, 24, 30, that's 3,500 residents out of the 6,000. So that's half the residents. The other half are on the fringe, either in a very expensive home or on the homes that are on the order of 150.
well, I'm on the fringe, but I don't have an expensive home.
Fred, what was the source of the graph again?
It's our own tax database.
Tax
Our
database.
tax assessment database.
You can't get any better reliability than right there.
And so
Put a plug in
yours
for
truly
Scott.
did some homework today. Well, I was supposed to be listening at work to all that stuff.
You know, we are on TV.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
your boss tunes in.
Yes, yes.
Reverend Patrick,
Fred,
I'm
thank
sure
you for
has better
taking care of
things to do than-
Goffstown in spite of the fact that you would have been doing Massachusetts business otherwise.
Yes, yes. And I did a lot of Massachusetts business, including negotiations with the Towing Capacity Market, which is a change in the electricity market for New England.
Oh, nice,
So,
thank you.
while doing this too.
Okay.
So,
Multitasking.
oh, yes.
You're
And
putting-
our church stained glass too. So anyway, that's what I have to report. And I did represent by email
Well,
a,
Fred, before you move on, is there anything further on the graphs here that you wanted to talk about, or are you done with
I like
that?
that.
I think I've done with that. Obviously, as a result of the histogram, as I suggest, 175, 225, and 275 might be a $50,000 break between them, which cover most homes. And so this presentation, draft presentation, would change to that extent. I also sent out a second draft based on comments I received from David Pierce, and now I think we're okay with the right to know law. We covered, I should show that.
I was just gonna say, it might be worth,
Fred,
it'd be worth
I'm-
putting that right in the PowerPoint.
You're going to sleep better tonight,
Yeah.
getting that off your chest.
Well, I mean, I'm serious, you have to follow the law, and I intend to follow it.
Well,
Yeah.
what I was gonna say is, can you put this, because, you know, people are out there watching, and they're probably saying, I know that this isn't ready to go to print yet, but you are sampling it, so can't we put this on the webpage?
Well, this will all be part of the minutes from this evening's meeting,
Okay,
so it will all be posted.
okay, great.
Now,
We'll get Andrew to upload it.
Now,
In his
Fred,
spare
there's one page that's perhaps missing from this briefing, and that's, a homeowner says, geez, I can have the opportunity of not having any trash tote in my yard, and I won't have any fee.
That's right.
And now, that's where the next piece of the puzzle kicks in, because every time they bring a bag to the transfer station, right now, those bags are free. And because you say, I'm bringing my household waste in, and it's dumped for free, but in the future, if this were to be implemented, what's the answer to that one?
Well, the theory that we went into this, the basis that the spreadsheet was developed on was that the transfer station in the whole solid waste budget would become self-sufficient. So all of the costs at the transfer station would be absorbed through increased fees for all the material brought to the transfer station. So nothing would be free any longer. There'd be fees for everything that came through the gate.
Instead of being in the tax rate, it would all be fee.
Right.
And there'd be none of your cost in the tax rate either, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
Now, it's difficult for those scales to weigh 3 bags of trash that I have taken out of my wastebasket.
I asked about that. They have, I think, a 20-pound accuracy, so.
Yeah, it's 20
minimum
pounds.
20 pounds.
So it's yeah, so it's going to be what, 20 pounds or 40 pounds for, a couple bags. And you're going to be severely overcharged or undercharged, and that's a risk that doesn't make it very practical.
On
For
the other hand-
for those that can't do the quick math in their head,
Yeah.
at 5 cents a pound, 20 pounds is a buck.
Yeah.
So just,
It's a buck.
20 pounds sounds like a lot, but it's a buck.
It's a buck.
Okay, so the subscription at $2 for a 35 gallon would cover 40 pounds of trash. If you kept, put it in the barrel, and you'd be break even to bringing the dump, if you don't count your gasoline and wear and tear in the car and all that
And time.
inconvenience, right?
Yeah, but I have to say that I have the large recyclable bin, and
Okay.
it's always full. And I have trash that I only put out 2 times a month.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I always find a way to have to go to the transfer station
For trash or for recyclables?
for recyclables.
Well, good for you.
But what I'm saying, I still have to go to the, because there's just not enough room. I mean, I can't, jump on my recyclables and make it
Recycle.
Do
go
you have a
anywhere.
95 or a 65?
Yeah, I got the big
You
one. I
got
got
the
the
big
big blue one. Yeah, a long time ago, I asked if I could have 2, and I was told no, but yeah, because it is a pain in the neck for
See,
me.
if we do this, you'd be able to have as many as you want.
Okay.
We need to have
You'd have to pay for it.
we need to have a program, if a resident fills up a 95-gallon barrel every week with recyclables, we
Gold
put
star.
we put a gold star on that barrel, and then every year we can
I don't know how
announce,
I do it, but I do
who
it.
the gold star winners are in the town.
You can ask my neighbors.
Do you
they think
fold
it's
your
good.
boxes?
I
Plus, if there's room in your
recycle
neighbor's
and-
Yeah, but do you
recycle.
fold them?
thing.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like what?
No, I usually end up taking those stupid, excuse me, I
Capture.
end up taking those boxes to the dump, to the transfer station.
But you
I'm
can tear
always-
them apart and fold them, that's what we do.
Or just flatten them out, yeah.
Yeah.
But I have too much other stuff in
Understood.
there. I mean, I
Congratulations.
recycle my cans, my bottles,
But if
my
one were to bring
cat food
recyclable
cans,
bags
my
of recyclables, it
bags,
would be free.
everything.
Oh,
The
there's
point
a
of-
problem.
The whole point of this,
Too
though,
many
is some
cats.
people just don't care,
I
and this
know.
will give them a financial incentive to care. So, right, thank you for caring.
You're
Do what you
welcome.
do. And so the presentation essentially geared off those matrices and trying to put words around them.
So Fred, are we moving to the presentation?
The presentation and the nice pretty picture of the town of Goffstown's
Okay.
DPW transfer station I got off the web.
Best.
Do we still have that truck?
Yep, I don't know if we have that truck, but it's a truck.
I'm sure we still have it, because the new truck's been turned down 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's-
And so the first page, the proposal for subscription service, and that's the only one I covered. We have to see whether we want to get into the other one, but that's going to be tough enough to explain. As I stated, the cost of trash and recycle would be a subscription service based on the size of the tote for each, paid whether or not the totes are brought to curbside. It's a weekly subscription. Most people currently use 65-gallon totes. That was a Dave Pierce comment. He said 99%. I just said most people, 65 gallons for both trash and recycling. If it is a full, perhaps you could get by with a smaller one. And it has the matrix, which shows $2 for trash and 30 cents for recycle for 35 gallons. 65 gallons would be $3.76 for the trash and recyclable. 95 gallon would be $5.43 and 81 cents trash and recyclable. So those are the costs on a weekly basis, and later I make that an annual. But the savings in taxes, what we showed here was $209.54 if you have a $250,000 home, and $293.36 of a $350,000 home. And I just did the calculation for $175,000 home at $146.68, and $200,000 home of $167.63. And so, if you take those 35, those different fees, and you,
One moment, Fred, before you go
Yes.
any further. I suspect one question that anybody you present this to would be asking is, how do I pay the subscription fee?
it would be a bill sent to you by the town, and I don't know right now, all that detail has to be worked out, but I assume it would be on a quarterly or an annual basis. And it would, based on what you have, we know what kind of totes you have. And so it would be an annual or quarterly bill sent by the town through from the DPU through the town.
We've talked about, though it hasn't been formalized, and that would be one of the decisions the selectmen would make, but what Sue and I have talked about would be a semi-annual, the off quarter of when the sewer bills go out. Right now, like sewer bills go out, whatever frequency, whatever months they go out, the off quarter.
Because many of us don't have sewer bills.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but those who do, it would be inconvenience for them to have it the off quarter.
Yeah.
Fred,
Yeah.
we couldn't put them in the tax bill,
Yeah,
not
that's
the
what
actual bill,
I
but,
thought we had talked about that too.
well, I know there's water, down in Litchfield Park.
Yeah.
I paid my bill off, so I don't have a payment, but quite a few people have the payments and they send it in their tax bill. So they get two bills in the envelope. That way it saves postage.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's something for the town to decide. It's something that we haven't gotten this far enough to talk about. That's a detail.
Right, no,
Let's-
but I know I'm bringing it up because I know it's somebody at a meeting would ask, well, how do I pay the bill if it's not on my taxes
And
anymore?
I'm not afraid to say, I don't know yet.
And you're good at that, Fred, thank you.
Okay, so I turn those weekly subscription fees into dollars. Can you multiply by 52, and I think it takes into account a 90% pickup or something. So if you multiply by 52, it may not work precisely, but if you have a 35-gallon, so it's 119.60 and so on. A 65-gallon recycle and a 35-gallon trash, it's 132.97, et cetera. And so I did have couple of bullets here to help make it self-explanatory. If you have a 65-gallon trash tote, and a 65-gallon recycle tote, your rental cost is $222.11, which is the number in the middle of that matrix,
Yes,
right?
and
And if you cut back to a 35-gallon trash tote, your cost goes down to $132.97, which is in the middle top.
And that, thank you, Fred, that fully.
That should explain the rest of it.
It does. It
Yeah.
fully explains how one would read the chart.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next page is the net benefit or cost to a $250,000 home, which is essentially those numbers that appeared on slide 3, less the 209.54 reduction in tax bill. And so if it's a negative number, it's a savings. If it's a positive number, it's gonna cost you more. And if you stayed at the 65 and 65, it would cost you $12.57 more a year under a subscription service than it would be under taxes, but most people could cut down to a 35-gallon trash and save $76.57 a year. So there's the incentive to do it. Going on to a $350,000 home, they save, just staying still, by $71.25, but they could save more by cutting this down to a 35-gallon trash. And I went on to say why pay-as-you-throw, like other commodities, trash and recyclable should be billed based on volume, electricity and gas and gasoline, and anything else you buy is that way, and potatoes. And so why is trash and recyclables any different? And it's a potential for savings to homeowners if you cut your trash volume and increase your recyclables. It's an incentive for recyclables to go up and trash to go down, which saves the environment. And we could expand to to multifamily and businesses this way, because it wouldn't be tied to keeping the taxes low. It's a service.
I would strengthen the incentive to recycle and have some way work the wording in it, that it's a proven. I mean, this is not a debatable, it's a fact.
Right.
Pay-as-you-throw will increase recycling.
Okay, proven potential for savings to homeowners. And we have numbers, because right now we're about a 20% rate?
About 32.
32%, but EPA shows it could be easily 60.
60, yeah.
And people who haven't implemented pay-as-you-throw haven't got quite to 60, but they're in the 50s, are they not? Something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Mid-50s?
Yeah. One other suggestion I had on the why, I would put the top bullet,
Uh-huh.
the absolute first reason is it allows an individual homeowner to choose what they want to spend on trash and recycling. I mean, right now, they just gotta swallow whatever the town budget approves. They have no choice in the matter, and it's all based on the value of their home. This puts the choice squarely in their hands. They can decide, do I wanna have more service? and I'm willing to pay for that, or do I wanna save money? They get to choose, they get to choose what they want.
They may choose to pay more for the convenience, because it means not going to the
Right.
transfer station. If you've got a large family, I'm happy to pay it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Or they could opt right out altogether and say, you know what, I can do it cheaper. My brother-in-law's got a trash company, he can do it for me cheaper, I'll do that. Doesn't matter to us.
Yeah.
They have complete choice in what they do.
A choice that should not be made is to take the trash and dump it by the side of the road, and that's always a concern.
Yeah, then they would meet
Uh,
boys
but-
in
but-
blue.
but- whenever people have implemented pay-as-you-throw, there might be a bit of a problem like that, but it's easy to catch who's doing it, and so that stops in a hurry. Because there's fines and all sorts of nasty publicity and.
Then we get to that chapter Dave was talking about earlier.
Yeah, and so that has not been a problem for people who have implemented pay-as-you-throw.
Not long-term.
I know that we had talked about giving, trying to decide who was gonna be able to participate in this, and if we were gonna give people downtown waivers or whatever in the school. We talked about that. We're not at that point right now, we're just.
No, I don't think we're at that, but I think that Fred's last bullet hits that, is it opens the
Yes.
door
Is what he's
for us to
talking about.
consider whether we want to expand the services that the town offers.
The first reaction of selectmen would be no, because it's gonna raise the taxes.
Right.
But if it's a pay-as-you-throw, a pay service, then who cares? Selectmen don't care, because it's not gonna affect the taxes. But the businesses and multifamily not getting the service now would love it if they could get it.
One other consideration, and I really do throw this out because I'm interested in everybody's input, is it worth mentioning the DPW's incentive to do this, which is,
Who cares?
well,
Let them talk, let 'em talk.
It's easy.
what it does for us is it allows more consistent planning of our financial burden for, I mean, trucks have to be replaced, facilities have to be upgraded. When we have to replace a truck, that's a big expense. It's like trying to jam this big pill down everybody's throat. Because this would be a non-lapsing fund, we can plan, all right, this truck's gonna last 7 years, let's set aside this much a year, and it gets calculated into the rate, so that when the truck comes due, the money's sitting there to buy it.
All right.
So it's not a big up and down pill that gets pushed through the.
Let me
budget.
caveat your statement, though. Even though it would not be part of taxes, it would be a separate fund. And the budget committee would still review this.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And-
Goes through the
and
process.
For reasonableness, so
Yeah.
that you're not replacing a truck every year.
It's
You're
exactly
getting a
like
full
we
life
do
out of it.
the ambulances now.
Yes.
But he just brought up another important bullet for the why here, and that's the replacement of vehicles would be coming out of the future operational budgets.
Right.
Yes. Well, no, would they come out of the operational budgets, or would it, because it's still a
Well,
fund?
it's in the CIP, which is in the operational budget.
The
But it
whole-
would be a separate revenue line, so it would not impact taxes.
That's right.
Right.
You-
What would be
but
created,
The way town budgets are created, you have to show all costs.
Yes,
And
but-
all revenues.
It
So
wouldn't-
would
it
the
wouldn't-
cost would still
it
be there,
wouldn't
but
add.
the revenue would go up, and so therefore the tax rate would not reflect
there
it.
would be, instead of, right now, if you look at the town budget, and this is way simplified, there's a lot more to it than, but there's the general fund,
Yes,
there's the EMS Special Revenue Fund,
yes,
there's the Parks and Recreation Special Revenue Fund.
yes.
When you look at the town budget, the fire department still shows EMS costs, and they show EMS revenues, but it doesn't land in the general fund pot, it goes into this EMS pot. What this would do, it would create another special revenue fund, which would be the solid waste special revenue fund. So all the revenue would dump into that pot,
And the
and
cost.
any expenses would come out of that pot.
And
So
so-
the general fund doesn't get the ups and downs with the capital expenses of
Purchasing a truck every year.
And I was teasing when I said, who cares, but from a homeowner's perspective, it's what they can save, what convenience it gives the homeowner.
And that's why I question whether that bullet's, I guess it depends what audience we're talking to. I would think folks that are involved in the budget process, the budget committee folks, would be pretty interested in. You mean, we don't have to swallow a $275,000 truck every few years? That sounds good to us. So depending on who we're presenting it to, I just don't want to let that fact get lost in the
I
mix.
captured it, and I think for the audience, this is initially intended to thought leaders, I think it's a good point. Well, I don't know what everybody else thinks.
No, I think it's very good. It's very brief, which is what you want. Did you say that you were going to incorporate the assessment graph as part of this?
I didn't, but I shall.
I think it'd be worthwhile. People who you're speaking to would be most interested, I would think, in knowing what the property values distribution is in town.
And those for the lesser valued properties, maybe getting away with something now, maybe not, because a smaller home may not have as much trash and recycle, but maybe getting away with something because it is based on value of home and not trash and not recycles. And so the real expensive homes are picking up a lot, and they may not have the trash and recycle value. So it may result in some cost shift based on the value of your home, but it does represent a true cost of what you're costing the community in terms of trash and recyclables.
Well, because when you start looking at the value of homes, you aren't figuring in the number of people in the household. And you might have a lower cost house that has,
50 people.
well,
6 or 8.
Or at least 6 or 8 people maybe, and you might have a $250,000, $300,000 house with 2 people. Obviously, the 6 or 8 are gonna be generating a lot more of everything,
Yeah,
the trash and the recyclable.
that's the disparity.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts to improve this thing?
Just that says exactly what Carl was talking about.
Right, but it's too wordy.
Well, you can shorten it.
I shortened it to, this is a PowerPoint, so I shortened it to, for DPW, more consistent planning for equipment replacement.
Yeah, but this, what I was getting to
Well,
was,
let me just plant the seed, not that there's a number attached to the seed just yet. But the transfer station next year, not 2012, the year after, will have its 20th anniversary. And deep down in the concrete, 2 stories down, if you ever looked over that big giant cement wall, there's a compactor there that was installed 20 years ago that sooner
Or
rather than later,
It's gonna crop out.
we're gonna have to start replacing things like that, and the cost of that facility is, you know, it's pretty big. We're gonna have to deal with it one way or the other. So we just need to start thinking, planning long
In
term.
the interest of full disclosure, what this presentation does not show is the cost if you get a smaller barrel, what it would total, what it would cost, because that would be paid for by the homeowner.
Right,
And so I ought to capture that, if you know those numbers.
I do,
Is it
Yeah,
the
was it-
spreadsheet?
it is.
Okay, I'll put that in somewhere. So we
Yeah.
can say, after the cost of the tote, which is blank.
Yeah.
then
Towards-
it's-
In fine print at the bottom of the contract, please.
Is there any other discussion about this item?
I have a few questions, but I'm not sure if it pertains to this item, but Fred may hear them.
Go right ahead,
Okay.
while we're still on the topic.
I do have a cold, so I'm sorry. My voice is off. On the recycling does go up and down.
The cost of it.
Yes, the cost of it. And of course, that would have to reflect in the cost of what the homeowner's gonna get charged. How does that work throughout the
Well,
year?
With the agreement we have with the Concord Co-op, there will be a new board created called the RFAM Board, which is a governance board made up of all the member towns. Those towns will assess rates twice a year, so every 6 months. That body, which is representatives from all the member towns, would get together and look at the market conditions, take out that crystal ball yellow sheet, and guesstimate what the rates would be for the next 6 months. So Goffstown's rate would be adjusted every 6 months. So when our quarterly bill went out to the resident, there'd be whatever adjustment needed to be made to their rate.
So the 35 gallon in the presentation is 30 cents per week. It could go to 36 cents and then next 6 months down to
Down to
23
25.
cents or?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. It would, this, you know, these numbers are generated out of that giant spreadsheet that you all saw last time. And in that are the assumptions. This is our tipping rate, so it's very easy to just say, okay, the new tipping rate is this, everything else falls out.
However, all things should stay equal. In other words, if, because of the Concord co-op costs go up, and so make a 30-cent rate a 36-cent rate, the DPW budget would go up, and so the amount in the taxes would go up, and so that the comparison should stay the same,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
It's a relative thing.
It's a relative thing.
Yeah. And then the other is, I believe there's 5,400 homes in Goffstown approximate. I'm just gonna throw this number out, I couldn't imagine this would happen, but let's say 500, okay, the first, our trash and recycling cost $1 million for an easy number. That is spread among those 5,400 homes, and that's how we come up with these numbers. If 500 homes left, the remaining 4,900 homes would have to share that cost, right?
Yes, but keep in mind that if we did our job right,
Yes.
which I've tried very hard to be pure, we didn't play games with let's boost up, you know, let's put free recycling and charge more over here. We did our best to represent, these are the true costs for every ton we come in. So if 500 folks said we're leaving, our tonnage would drop by 10% theoretically. Our costs would drop by 10%, and it would all be relative in theory.
Yeah, but you still have the employees and the overhead and the building and the trucks.
Yeah, eventually you get that, but if it was real
Yeah.
extreme, you get that. But in the same extremist view, if the demand on the transfer station went down significantly, you could reduce employees.
Yeah.
You know, so it's everything is relative to the business coming in.
And
By the same token, John, if we went down this road and we determined that, hey, we have a service to offer the business community in this town, and we went out and financially it worked, that the business owners in this community said, hey, we like that idea. We'll
Yeah.
pay. We may add staff. We may add service. The numbers will all go up. But the revenue would go up because the businesses would now be paying us instead of someone
And
else.
in either case like this, you wouldn't be doing anything like, suddenly like 1 week. I mean, the odds of any town losing 500 people or 500 homes or 10% of the population is very small. They would
Yeah.
all go out like all at once.
Yeah.
But like over a period of time, you might drop a number or increase the number, but you could either phase out employees
Yeah,
or gradually or.
what I would
increase that.
anticipate seeing if we did this is, in the beginning, 10% would drop out and say, oh,
Yeah, that's what I'm.
we're not doing this.
Yeah.
They'd go out and spend a few weeks shopping around, and then the next quarterly bill, 90% of them would come right back.
Oh, they start bringing your trash somewhere and realize it's a hassle, and,
Yeah.
forget that.
Yeah, for $1 a week, I'm not gonna bother with this.
Well, I'm just trying to throw out things that we're
Yeah.
gonna see from the public. And then the other one is, will this program allow recycling only if a community or a street, because I know there's a lot of dead-end streets, and if they all got together and said, you know, for $100, whatever it is, we can throw a dumpster at the end of the road and throw our trash in there, but recycling, is that allowed, or it's both? They have to do both?
They do whatever they want.
Oh, okay.
And another point is that I just heard Carl say that the transfer station is 20 years old. It's paid for.
Oh, yeah.
And so the only increment cost we have to worry about is the cost of equipment that isn't paid for. And so it's a much smaller nut.
Yeah.
And if the volume went down, we'd probably slow down the replacement of the equipment because it wouldn't get the same wear and tear.
Right.
And so I think that it would all adjust itself.
Yeah.
And
And the community has the say in what we want that to look like. You know, I mean, if everybody decided, hey, transfer station needs to be replaced in 20 years, let's start setting aside 10 cents a week or something towards that. You could decide to do that, you know, or not. You know, however we decided to cover that kind of stuff.
Well, I think at this time, I mean, I see a lot of benefits with this. The only thing that I would find I would like to work on more as a committee is the spreadsheet that you had with the, what are those squirrely bulbs and, you know, with the mercury in them?
Yeah, compact fluorescent.
Yes,
fluorescent.
you know, in 15 years, we're gonna have the astronauts come in and take them out of all of our schools, because they're gonna say, "Ooh, geez, don't touch them." You know, I know there's gonna be a fee on each of those things, and oil and, you know, the antifreeze. I was wondering if we could relook at that, because what I'm worried about is if we say that there's a $3 fee or whatever for those bulbs, they're gonna go in the trash. What does that do to the landfills?
Yeah, we can look at that.
Yeah.
You know, suffice it to say that whatever those costs, we'll figure out a way to build it into the model.
Yeah, I mean, I just see where people are just gonna throw it away. You know, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, they do now.
Oh,
When we
and you
get-
offer them free, right?
We get so little universal waste at the transfer station compared to what we know is out there, that 99% of the people are throwing it away now.
Really?
So it's not gonna change.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah.
My scientific term was a funny-looking light bulb.
Yeah. Well, I bring mine over all the time, because they're supposed to last 10 years.
Yeah.
They don't.
They do if you don't plug them in.
Yeah, well, I got a ceiling fan in the bathroom, and I'm going through an awful lot of them.
That's a marketing scheme.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on this topic before we move on?
Is the presentation okay? I mean, I got
Yeah.
the comments for change, but is it spiffy enough?
Yeah.
Now, who's going with you to present this?
Who said I'm going for In Lions, I happen to be president, so it should not but we have two other Lions members present, one of whom could do it. And might have Russ an excuse to show up to a Lions meeting this year.
He's been busy.
Yeah, I've been busy, yeah.
Well, I just remember doing this one time with in another situation, and a couple people went. And the reason was, one person was kind of like a spotter, because as you went through the presentation,
Yeah.
the other person just kind of looked at the audience, and when you saw faces like that, you know, and then you could report back what, because you're too busy giving the
Right.
presentation.
But actually, if I'm chairing the meeting,
Yeah.
I can watch for that sort of thing, as long as
Okay.
I'm not presenting.
Yeah.
But somebody, you know, I know we have a Rotary member present, do we not?
Yeah, and just as staff, I'd be happy to do any of them, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
So I just throw that out there.
Yeah.
But we ought to schedule as a committee to do just that, who we ought to present and who's doing it. And it should have two people,
Yes.
one, a presenter and a watcher.
Yep, yep, that's what I think, you know, and that way.
Well, it also lends to it makes it more interesting. You have more, I mean, I'd even recommend that you switch off and have a co-presenting, because it just makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
And if I do it, people will die on my jokes anyway, so.
Most people in town will just walk away.
I can just see open mic at the apothecary. Selectman Dave Pierce, a poem about solid waste.
Are you done, John?
Yes, I am, thank you for accommodating me.
And I will say, Fred, very good job. Yeah, it doesn't have to be any fancier than this. It's really not a thing that you need to put a whole lot of fanciness to, so long as it's
I'm
factual and
This-
it's complete.
I was thinking about some music though, Fred. You know, like as the PowerPoint is working, you could have some music or something.
A little-
Have you seen that little kid that does
Guitar in the background?
does the IBM, him and his dad's doing his math homework, and he's dad has a presentation to do and there's 2 computers and the kid sits there and goes,
I know.
and then the presentation goes, sales! And, haven't you ever seen it?
I have seen it.
I think that should do that. You should have the, like, cans rolling in.
I did one for work that's got 3D cylinder charts. Oh,
Nice.
spiffy. Yeah.
Just
But-
to,
Or
Carl,
some
well, just,
aspects of the compactor working.
Yes,
Yeah.
spiffy.
just to take advantage, if we do have a large viewing audience tonight, but, you know, we've mentioned 2 of our civic organizations just on happenstance, because there's representatives of 2 sitting at the table. But we would do this at any,
Oh, yes.
not just civic organizations, if the Girl Scouts want to hear it, or the Boy Scouts, or
Mother's
anybody
Club.
that wants, yeah, anybody that wants to hear it, I'd be more than happy to.
If you
set up
don't
a
want to
time.
hear it, you're going to be told anyway.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah. So,
Right.
That's good.
Okay, Russ, are you done now?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along. What is the status, Carl, of the cooperative hauling arrangement with the city of Manchester for the recycles?
Well, the Public Works Director in Manchester just happened to be sitting in a car with me on the way home from a meeting, and pointed out that we had a 1-year agreement which is either expired or due to expire any minute. So he's gonna get me a revised thing. I don't envision it changing, because as you all remember,
The dates.
we linked it to market conditions, so that it goes up and down with whatever the market's doing. I know the city, they may not want to do a full year, because I believe the city is on track to enter into a new contract in about 9 months. So once they do that and they provide citywide single stream, they'll probably deal with their own. But I don't want to speak for the selectmen, but I'm assuming that until they're ready to do that, we'll be fine with it.
Have you recognized the chairman?
Just a moment here. So you say in 9 months they're gonna be doing a separate
I
agreement?
think he said about 9 months, they're gonna have their citywide program up and running, so that,
I would not be opposed to a agreement that was month to month, with 30 days notice on either party.
I was gonna say, or alternately, just, you could make it for a 1-year term with a 1-month, 30-day notice to get out of it. So. it'd
I
give-
think, to be honest, I think it already has that. I think it already,
And I thought it did
either
as
party
well.
can just out. at any
30
time,
days
just with
notice.
Yeah.
Then that's fine.
So if it's very similar to the existing contract, I would think that that would favor both parties and give them the latitude they need as well.
If we don't change it, we won't have to vet it through. It was, the city has their own legal folks, and it went through us in a committee meeting and a board of selectmen, but on their end, it was a little more involved getting it approved. So if we don't change it, it probably is easier on their end.
Now, where's their recycling gonna go at some point?
Well,
Can we discuss that?
I think it's public knowledge. They have a private vendor on the hook to just take, it's gonna magically go away. And
Oh.
the city is gonna magically get paid a certain amount of money every year for it.
Oh, so them building their own facility, that's gone?
Well, that vendor is playing with the idea, but he hasn't committed to building a facility of his own. He may end up bringing it right up to the co-op.
Yeah.
Who knows?
How much could they take up there?
At the co-op,
Yeah.
probably as much as could be generated. If Manchester decided to go, we'd be able to handle that.
Oh, yeah.
While we're talking about the city, I'll give them a plug. They've been working with us on things like sweeping, and, I mean, they help us with equipment they have, and I'm trying to talk them into sweeping the entire town, because the rate we get from the city is a heck of a lot better than, and we have a great rate from our private contractor, but the rate we get from the city is way less. So I wish I could get the city to do more for us. But we're talking about all those things and working on ways to save money like that. So it's been a good relationship.
So using the city for sweeping, we clean up, huh?
That took you longer than normal.
I agree. Bada boom.
Don't anybody encourage them.
I know, I'm sorry. Did you notice that we gave you this little document here, Fred?
But I have my own color one, which is prettier.
Okay, moving on to number 9. Carl again.
In case I missed somebody.
The New Boston and the hazmat
That is done,
disposal.
that is dead.
That is not going any further.
No, the
Oh, really?
selectmen-
Selectmen killed it.
Well, thank you very much. The
Probably didn't cost us
state
money.
DES was all hot on it and you killed it.
Well, wasn't it gonna cost us money if we did it?
Well,
Oh,
No.
Okay.
Well, Dave, do you want to fill us in on the details on that?
no.
How about the high points?
Let me just suffice it to
It's
say that
hazardous
the
to discuss it.
the residents in the town of New Boston are just fine.
Okay,
It's been worked out on, they're fine.
great.
Because you know, their river flows this way.
Nice.
Okay, so was that an issue that was brought before the selectmen, or was it something the selectmen chose
Yeah.
to
Yes.
to pick up?
It was a
Formal
municipal
request.
agreement between the two towns that enter into
I have
the
something to show you.
disposal of their hazardous waste, basically through a voucher system. And I believe a resident would go to their town hall or Public Works and get a voucher that brings something to our facility.
And then we pay for it.
And then the town would pay the tab
Right.
based on how many vouchers we collect.
Or print?
Oh, hey, just while we were chatting, I had emailed Jim Prusher and asked him for an update, and just so happens I just got the update. So if you want, I'll just tell you what he says.
Yes, please.
We are in the process of finalizing the financing. Bids for the road, utilities, site work, and building have been received, and the bidders have been selected. The plan is to be up and running by the end of the year. So I take that to be the end of 2012.
Wow.
Well,
Breaking
not really,
news.
wow, it was supposed to be online in May.
May of 2012?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
things didn't get finalized when they were supposed to either.
I'll tell you what, though, just,
It's gonna be 2/3.
it is just getting things through a town government is a monumental task. Getting things
How
through
can you say that?
34 town governments, right, that is a monumental task.
Well, thanks to us, they had a wonderful contract to go out to the other communities with.
Mhm, yes,
Good.
that's true.
So it should have been a piece of cake on that side.
As I remember, the editing of the contract done by Gulfstown was much red ink to edit compared to what the other towns had done.
Well, they didn't read it,
They didn't read it, yeah.
so then it's always easy.
They trusted Big Brother.
Yeah, there you go. So, it sounded like they were still waffling on the financing side of it, even though they had all the tonnages lined up.
Well, yeah, they have, I think their original projection, and I haven't seen any updated numbers, the original projection was it was gonna cost $8 million. They had $7 million in cash. They
Oh,
needed
so
to go
what
out
were
and
the
finance
balance?
$1 million, so they're still working on that detail.
Good. Okay, moving right along to number 10, which we quickly touched on. You're going to get back to me, and I will get back to everybody here concerning the solid waste ordinance as to what the status is.
Yes.
Is there any other business this evening?
We talked about a tour down in Charlestown. Would you like me to reach out to Mark? I don't know the best way to facilitate that. I guess maybe get some selected dates from him and I'll throw it out.
Saturdays, because,
How about when the warm weather returns?
yeah,
Yeah, that too.
Not when it's zero.
but not too warm because it's trash recovery.
Well, just to address those concerns, it really doesn't smell.
I'm teasing.
And it's mostly indoors, so though the doors open and close and it is a bit drafty, when I was there, the majority of what we did was inside, so you literally could do it this time of year, I think. I don't think it'd be a big deal.
Well, how does April fit into people's time frame? Because I know I'm busy at this point. I know the legislature's going to be busy here for quite a while.
I have a trip to Tucson one week, but otherwise free. Tucson and Florida.
Which weeks are those, Fred? Write these down, Carl.
Yeah.
I'm going to Concord.
South or north?
Yeah.
No,
I'll be in Concord.
Why don't,
Well,
I'll
just find out if
get,
there's any,
I'll try to get a variety of dates from
yeah. And
Mark.
it may be as easy as, geez, tell us when you're available and we'll line something up too.
Right.
Yeah.
We can always videotape it for you.
Yeah, I'm gone from 6th through the,
We better, I'll write
You know,
this
if I'm
down.
not, if I'm not mistaken, I think they have, if you go to their website, I think you can click on it and you can see
Oh,
a
nice.
video of it. But
Now,
it
Mondays,
doesn't replace the first.
Mondays are good for me. I mean, Saturdays are terrible. But would they allow somebody to just go down and jump in on another group that's going through?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you could check that, I could do a Monday.
yeah, the 6th through the 13th, I'll be out of pocket.
And I don't mind the cold.
I'll write that down, 6th through the 13th.
That's what you want to schedule it, right?
Yeah.
You know what what we could do is we could schedule it for a weeknight at 4:30. To get done at 4:30 and you can all
Yeah,
kind
you
of get
can
home.
get-
Yeah.
Perfect for me.
You're already there.
I'd take the T over.
There you go.
Fred will drive us all home, he said
That
that.
sounds great.
That's what we can do. We can work in, we'll commute down.
Yeah, and I'll take the T
Rail.
over, yeah.
We'll meet in North Billerica, ride the train down.
Yeah,
Take the T over. This is
you can treat us out for dinner.
It might be recycled material.
Is there any other business, anything else anybody would like to bring up? Russ, you were drawing a breath like you were getting ready to say something, I thought. Obviously not.
No, he's worried about his vacation now.
Yeah.
I will have the commission's website updated with the names of the participants. Mrs. Gross will be eliminated. She's probably watching the show tonight because of her lifelong interest in recycling, Tammy. But we'll remove her name, and Kathy will be elevated as chair. Now, you're remaining as a member.
I am remaining as a member.
Okay.
I am hoping that Tammy Gross's absence will be a temporary phenomenon.
Did you hear that, Tammy?
Don't run off, we'll get a picture.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, we gotta-
But first, would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Fred, second.
Second.
Anybody opposed to that? Hearing none, it's unanimous, we're out of business. Thank you.
That nice bright blue wall looks like the place.